Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are, everybody. We're here today with Troy Newport of Cog Hill. Happens to be a great partner for Tag Marshall, longstanding partner with us. For those of y'all who don't know, got to give you a relation. Cog Hill is about 28 miles southwest of Chicago, home to the PGA Western Open in 91 and 2006. The BMW Championship in 2007, 2009 to 2011. So we'll do a little short intro, and I'll let Troy take it away. Welcome, Troy.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here today. So Cog Hill, I've only been here for a couple years, but this is I always consider it kind of the mecca of public golf in the Midwest. It's a large 4-facility a daily fee golf place, and we've got 4 18-hole golf courses. We have 2 that are similar pricing, our course 1 and 3. And then we have the Ravines course in Dubsdread. Dubsdread's where the Western Open and the BMW was held. And those are the 2 that we installed Tag Marshall on. As I said before, I've been here just a little while, but it's been a blast being at this place. And I love public golf is in my blood. So I love seeing it every day. It's a busy facility close to the city. And we are having a good time.
If you allow me to jump in here, Joey, my name is Boris Sieber, the CEO of Tag Marshall. I'm coming along for the ride. Troy, tell us a bit about your history. And you didn't just get thrown into Cog Hill. You've been around the block a bit before, right?
Yeah, no, I'm a 30-year PGA member. It sounds like a long time when you say it out loud. I actually started in the business right out of college. I started at Innisbrook Golf Resort near Tampa, and a lot of folks listening might know that facility. Started there as an assistant, which is essentially a glorified cart washer and cart parker. Loved that. It was a busy place. It was hot in Florida. I'm a Midwestern guy. Didn't spend too long in Florida, but along the way became a head golf professional and spent about 12 years with Troon Golf previous to coming to Cog Hill. Had a great run with Troon Golf and really loved the organization and the people there. But this facility had a general manager who'd been here for 39 years and was retiring. So the job came up through the PGA Links program, and we were really excited for the opportunity. So we were fortunate to get placed here as a general manager. And it's been, all of a sudden we get here and it's COVID time, right? So it was a crazy start about a year in, but so far, it's been great, and the facility is owned by the Jemsick family since 1951, and I report to the 3rd generation, Catherine Jemsick, who's the president of the company, and they have 2 other facilities that they own or manage. So they are in 100% active golf owners, and it's been a nice to be able to see them every day and interact with them and get some of these decisions made that we've done since I've been here.
Yeah, nice. Troy, there must have been a few things that they put on the flag for you, maybe your top 3 priorities that they brought you on for. What were the sort of main focus areas that they wanted you to look after?
Yeah, during the interview process, it was the top 3 were revenue, and then there was revenue. But they also had a longstanding team here. They really wanted somebody who could interact and join their culture. Here, they've had a lot of folks who've been here 20 years plus as employees on their management team. So they were certainly looking for that, but they were looking for revenue building strategies and things where they could modernize. And that's what we're talking about today, to adapt some technology that would help them operate more efficiently, but also help them make more money.
Fantastic. So talking about technology, I know some of our team, the younger guys that are playing over 2 or 3, they all feel like they know Cog Hill, and there's a reason for that. And you can't mention Cog Hill without mentioning Tiger Woods, right? And the famous PGA Tour game that Cog Hill was one of the standout courses to play at. Tell us a bit about that, and obviously I know that you came in after the Tiger period, but it goes hand in hand with the name Cog Hill, surely.
And it's a great way I just kind of explain to people. I say Tiger won here 5 times. That's just kind of my lead off sentence. So there's some of these courses, as you folks know, that he's done really well at over the years. Firestone, Torrey Pines. This is one that it just fit his game really well. So he won, I believe, 4 Western Opens and 1 BMW here, if I'm correct. But then I found out along the way, and not being a video player myself, I found out that somebody said, well, yeah, isn't that course on the EA Sports? And so then I had to have somebody show it to me, not having played it. And they're like, you hadn't played that? No. But so that obviously brought the golf course to a lot of folks who may not have otherwise been aware of it.
Nice. Joey, I think that is the one time I can get on a golf course and beat you. It's when I play it.
There's your chance, right?
All right. Yeah, let's jump into it. If you'll allow me a quick introduction to who we are. So Tag Marshal is a golf course optimization platform, and we are racking up the data. We have now tracked over 20 million golf rounds. We are proud partners to, I think it's not over 30 of the top 100, including Cog Hill, obviously famously being on that glorious list. We also take partners to the European Tour and do a lot of research with the USGA. It's really been such a pleasure to add value to this phenomenal industry. And maybe important to mention that most of the clubs we work with are really straight down the middle, $40 green-free clubs. In fact, it's fantastic to have that range, you know, the top tier, like really the very best in management, and also them being so willing to share of their experience with the rest of the field, if you will. And Joey, I know that you have had both sides of the experience in the last 48 hours, right? Having been over in Michigan, and now you're at Erin Hills.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a great thing to see with you know, with our systems that we can cater to the private clubs, we can cater to the resort clubs, or we can cater to the public clubs. It was very interesting in our meeting here this morning. You know, we were grabbing the attention of the private clubs, you know, because we have that offering for these guys. So it's a great thing that we have at Tag Marshal, where we're able to cover all ranges of golf. You know, not just the high end folks, but you know, the common everyday guys. You know, and in the end, it's all everybody's looking for the same thing. They're looking how to better manage their course and improve their player experience. You know, whether that be through pace of play or course conditions. You know, trying to get people into the food and beverage side, get them into buy apparel, you know, and get repeat customers. So everybody's in competition these days with all we've got going on with COVID and all the new golfers. All the golf courses are pretty packed. So it presents a bit of a challenge for the golf courses, and that's where I think we have a great offering to come in and help people manage their golf courses in a more efficient way.
Brilliant. And Troy is in a fortunate position that he's got 4 courses of his at Cog Hill that are competing for different players. We're going to learn about that now. But the things that we want to talk to today is which factors are key to creating exceptional player experiences, because that's obviously what any operation should strive for. But where do we start? What are the key aspects? Then what impact does technology have on Cog Hill's operations? How does this shape positive play experience and repeat play? And then lastly, operational efficiency, obviously key. And seeing that Troy is the revenue man, we may share some thoughts on that as well. Let me start by launching a quick poll. Which do you believe, dear people in the crowd, are the key play experience factors? I think you get to vote on 3 here. I just need to launch it. Troy, your vast experience with Troon and having worked in golf and obviously played golf for decades, what would you rate as the top 3 experience factors?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little controversially, I'll leave probably one out that people may put in there, but certainly course conditioning, pace and flow of play. And then I would say playing partners, who's in your group. I think a lot of people may pick value over that, but I think with the new and upcoming demographic that we're trying to attract here at Cog Hill and other public golf facilities, that's a key component of their experience, and that word experience we use a lot around here. So those are the three that I would choose.
So course conditioning, pace and flow of play, and who are the playing partners. Yes. Interestingly, if you get all of these things right, then you've got value, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I would agree. I would think that those add up to that. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Joey, you're lots and lots of, you have lived on a golf estate. You have obviously played lots of golf. You love going on tours. What would you rate as the top three?
I would say for me, it's probably course conditioning, pace and flow of play, and course design. I think those are probably my top three for sure.
Got you. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. I've learned to take a screenshot because we don't always get the results. Oh, okay. Give you a few more seconds. Not everyone's decided yet. That's really insightful. Obviously, this is anecdotal, even though there's vast experience talking. Ending the poll now. You guys couldn't see that. So what floats to the top here is, let me share, course conditioning, pace and flow of play, and then we've got a tie between playing partners and accessibility and tee time availability. I want to get around and when suits me. That so speaks to time, I guess. So thanks everyone for taking a moment here to push some buttons. This is a red and blue game. So I remember last year we did a webinar at the height of the elections, and the colors just happened to match.
Yeah,
it was a bit hairy there for a second. Okay, so what we want to look at is what does the science say, right? Like, what does the science say about the research, and also some popular opinion. So one of the big channels where popular opinion matters is Golf Advisor, which is the TripAdvisor of golf, which is a part of the Golf Now family. And the key things that they're rating are conditions, value, layout, which is course design, friendliness of the staff, pace, and amenities. You can guess which course gets a 96.9% rating here and rates really well for both conditions and layout friendliness and pace. That's obviously Cog Hill, but that's by design, right? We want to obviously learn, like, what is it that you pay special attention to there, Troy, to make sure that you're constantly rating high, because that's what people come back for. And at the bottom here is a club that's not getting it right. It's a nameless club that's rating 3.4 stars. Their pace is, rated as atrocious. Their conditions aren't that great. Obviously, people feel value okay. It might be a very low-cost round, so we're a bit more forgiving, but ultimately you can see where this floats, right? When it comes to people's decisions, should I go play at this course or not? So it does matter. In terms of the science, so the USGA obviously also wants to know what matters to players the most, and they're finding that the top, and both of you mentioned this, as did our crowd, 82% of players say course conditioning is a crucial factor to their enjoyment. And then very close to that is at 74% is pace, flow, the time it takes to play. It's not actually second, it's top three, but it's just interesting how close, I mean, this is just 8% difference, right? Where so much effort goes into course conditions. And at Cog Hill, I'm sure it's no different, and you've got 4 courses to look after. So in terms of budget, this is a huge undertaking. You're not surprised there, Troy, by these official research findings, I'm sure.
No, not at all. Not at all. All of our Google reviews and our surveying mode reviews come directly back to me, and I see these answers or these issues pop up in those responses all the time. Specifically, the one I wasn't mentioned was friendliness, but it was mentioned on the Golf Pass, and that's one that I can't take credit for. I didn't hire most of the folks that are here. We usually do really well there, so I'm pleased with that. But pace of play is typically what people, when they have a critique, that they'll talk to you about on one of those review platforms, for sure.
Sure. Yeah, I know that Matt Barksdale from Pinehurst, he's coined this phrase that your on-course sentiment is your off-course or post-round sentiment, right?
Yeah.
So how you feel on the course And that might be, yeah, I got stuck a few times behind a group. That's what you take with you. It might also be the birdie that saved you around on the 18th.
Yeah, exactly.
Home, sure, but you will remember if things didn't quite flow as well as they could. It is a huge factor. There's more research that's backing this. And interesting enough, Joey, you're up at Erin Hills right now. I don't know if you met Christina Schoonover, Professor Schoonover, who's in charge of operations there, but she's also a researcher at the University of Wisconsin Start. And she was one of the people behind this big USGA research, where they looked at what are the player experience factors that really matter, because we want to obviously substantiate what does it pay to really pay attention to, what is important to pay attention to. And what they found, out of 1,000 touch points in a golfer journey, and the touch point might include booking your round online, it might include driving through the gate, it might include having a short interaction with a starter, it might include a halfway house. That's all a touch point, including having a shower after the round. All of those things are touch points, right? And they found that out of 1,000, the ones that rate top and bottom in terms of are they detractors to the experience or absolutely delighting people are ranger related and pace related. And this is 100% the research results. So the very best thing we can do to people is give them great conditioning, we know that, but green and open tees and positive ranger etiquette, which is the top rated thing in terms of what makes people happy. But because I think it's because it's so unexpected, right? In the past, a ranger's got a tough job, right? And a lot of management pressure and get things moving, right? So what does the poor person do is go out and granted players to get on with it, and players don't like that, right? Like right. I met a friend of mine, he goes, finds the ranger, tips him $20, said, just leave me in peace. Don't come over and granted me.
Don't come over here. Yeah.
Exactly. Just don't come in and glare at me. So on the other side, it's corrective pace of play actions. Somebody coming over and telling me I'm slow. I don't like to hear that as a player. At the same time, there's this conundrum, which is other speed. So if other people are slow, I can't stand that either. So it's really a difficult thing, because on the one hand, the ranger's role is being questioned. On the other hand, we want something to happen so that we don't get stuck. So this is what the research spat out here. And this was presented at the Tokyo Golf Innovation Symposium, which was held in Tokyo because of the Olympics that's hosted there now a year late, where golf is about to launch. So Troy, from your experience, you mentioned that I don't know if anyone's ever come to you and said the pace was fantastic and I loved your ranger, but you certainly know about it if things don't go well.
Yeah, always hear that. I mean, and always hear about like, where were the rangers, and you know, and I didn't see anybody, and that's where we had to do a little education with the new program, because we want to tell people on the first tee, we have this GPS system that allows us to track the golf carts without a ranger being able to visually see them and see who's delaying and who's slowing down the group. So we want to educate the golfer about how we're doing that, so that if they don't see a ranger, our new system is almost kind of like dispatch. We're going to dispatch somebody to the trouble problems before they become bad. So that if you're in a good spot of the golf course, you may not see a ranger, but we want to let them know we're still watching. So.
And you don't have to tip anyone to keep them off your case.
Yeah. Well, and it is a constant thing. I mentioned before in one of our conversations that golfers don't like being stalked. You know, that I'm being stalked by the ranger. You know, somebody just he pulls up on every shot I hit and pulls up next to me, and you know, to watch what I'm doing, and they certainly don't like that. I mean, so we need to be able to do our job without giving him that feel.
Sure. Yeah, the ideal round is where you don't have that interaction. And if you do have an interaction, it's a positive interaction, right? Mm-hmm. That's a value-added interaction. So we want to talk about what impact does technology have at Cog Hill's operations. There's quite a few things that you do and that you've brought on board as well, and since you've started. And how does this shape positive play experiences and repeat play? So, yeah, one of the quotes that's always good to look at is what gets measured gets managed, and if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. I'm sure that as a multi-year manager of large teams, you've come to rely on data, and you look at to track data wherever you can. So I know there's a few things that you look at if you want to know, and that you want to know that the health of your business. So what are those technologies that you are relying on?
Yeah, this has been the best facility that I've been in the business as far as me being able to pull easy data and get information about how our operation's going. So these are kind of I mentioned our 4 tabs on our computer that we're looking at all the time. PriceWing is an independent dynamic pricing module that actually integrates with the Club Profit, which is our point of sale system. So that has its own tab to where I can go on. I can see exactly how we stand versus last year versus previous years, how much our pricing has changed by using our dynamic pricing module. And that has been fantastic. That was new technology when I came in. I had used it at another facility. And then also the top tracer, that's something we put in here in 2019 on the driving range. Really busy driving range business here. And it has really almost doubled our business. People love that technology, and they love the fact they can see their shots and trace everything and keep it on their phone. And then we have Tag Marshal listed, which for us was the decision came about because we had an older GPS system on the Ravines and Dubstred course that needed to be either moved and refreshed. And so we went out and we did some research on everything that was out there in the market. And I love the easy reporting. I like the visuals that Tag Marshal gave us of being able to say, this is the group that's delaying. This is a group that's slow because they're being delayed. It's kind of at a glance that I didn't see in some of the other technologies. So these are the things, and I'm, as you probably can tell, I'm not a person who's skeptical about technology. You get what you get from it, and you're able to, but I'm able to share with the owners a lot more information about their business than they were previously getting.
Brilliant. We're going to talk a little bit more detail of what the things are that you're seeing and that you're using in your day-to-day. Just before we go there, just a quick look at the technology and how it works. So we use IoT, Internet of Things devices to send geolocation data or these two-way screens. That's the option that Cog Hill went with. So they've got the front end, the golfer front end. You can also send messages to it. But what these units will do is they send information to our system, and the system processes the information and then makes it available to the staff in an easy to use way, because we know that golf managers are busy. So you need to know what's going on at a glance. And also you want reporting to make sure that you're on track, you keep improving, pursuing excellence, but also your team are doing their job and they're paying attention at the right time and to the right areas of the course. And I think you've learned quite a bit about your clubs since in the short time, actually, it's start of the season that you've had the system for. So we want to talk a little bit about that. So here we've got the 2 clubs of what they look like in terms of a busy day, right? So on the bottom right, that's Dubstred, and on the top left is Ravines. Am I correct here?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, great. So what are some of the things that you've learned about the courses, the management of it? And I want to give you a bit of a hint here in why is there a triangle painted on the top right of it?
We can attack that first. That's as I mentioned to you brought the idea of putting it on the picture, which is a great one. I think I'll use that now. But that's our Bermuda Triangle on the Ravines course. That's the 8th hole through the 11th hole has consistently shown up on the map. And we obviously knew we had issues there previous to Tag Marshal. And we actually had an individual at Cog Hill for years who would track each play round time. They'd be at the end of 18, marking down, a very time consuming capital or expensive way to mark that. But we found out that specifically 8 through 11 on Ravines is causing us all kinds of headaches with how long it takes the golfers to play those holes. And specifically, they are set up to be difficult holes, and they're difficult off the tee, finding your golf ball, and they're difficult around the green, which you have both of those elements on a hole, makes it longer to play. But it's kind of counterintuitive to think that it literally takes less time for our golfers to play Dubstred than it does a lower slope rated course, the Ravines. Dubstred's a difficult golf course, deep greenside bunkers, deep fairway bunkers. You have to drive it and play, but we typically get better golfers on that course, and we don't have a lot of 25 handicappers that sign up to play Dubstred. So we get our biggest kind of diverse group of golfers on Ravines. People love it. It's pretty, but it is tough for the golfer who is a higher handicapper. And we found out that that is our dispatch zone. That's where we need to spend our time, is in that triangle out there to watch and help golfers move along and keep our pace going well.
Sure. Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned is that it's easy to see. So there are a few colors in play. Obviously, green means everything's going smoothly. Then you've got some magenta, which means that this group is delaying other groups, and there happens to be one in the Bermuda Triangle delaying the orange guys. So these guys are out of position, but they're a little bit behind. So you know all about what's happening out on the course from your desk, basically. Let me just go back. You mentioned, and I believe that's something that you've done, obviously on the back of having this information at hand, both for live management, but also the data in the back end, which we're going to look at in just a few minutes. You've adjusted your ranges strategy quite a bit, and you used to have quite a labor-intensive setup in place before, right?
Yeah, I arrived here in 2019, and we had a ranger meeting in the spring, and we had an entire room just chock full of individuals who had been doing this for a long time. And so it was one of the things that immediately thought to me, we're in Illinois, we are on the minimum wage escalator, I like to call it. Every year it goes up $1 now. So it's at $11 an hour now. Next year it's 12 until it gets to 15. So from an operator standpoint, we have to tackle that somehow. We have to make sure that we can manage the way we want to manage and still stay under a certain expense budget. So my thought was, how can we come up and use technology to shrink our rangering staff? And we had some folks who were resistant to the technology. Frankly, they didn't want to look at a screen. They didn't want to log in and put cart numbers next to tee times and all that. So we did some, what I would call natural paring down. And we basically just did it over the off season after the first year. And that allowed us to do a dispatch method, which is have somebody keeping an eye on either on their phone or on a iPad or on a PC of Tag Marshal and sending people out to where the issues are. And then we moved the older GPS system to our other 2 courses. So we actually have 4 golf courses that we can track, albeit the older system is not quite as robust on the reporting and visuals. But it's one of the things where I couldn't see the other courses at all before from the sky. So just trying to do that, we've seen some really positive impact on that, and it's going to get better in the future too, I think.
Yeah, I think we need to keep in mind that you've only been going for a short period. And I think one of the things that our team always stresses with the clubs as they get onboarded and that the team gets trained is, well, let's get to know your course first, which seems a bit counterintuitive because some of the staff may have been there for 10 years. They think they know their course backwards.
they know it.
But there's always surprises, right? And you can never know enough about your business. So one of the things that I want to just point out on the 2 ways, which is here's an example of the screen. Obviously, we're showing sort of the GPS standards with a touchless screen, and you can go and put your finger down and it calculates where your distance really nicely. But one of the things that obviously comes standard is all this information that Troy, that you have and your team in the back end, we are sharing what's critical with the player too. So the player is starting to delay. They would know about it as well. So they can then self-manage a bit better. And you can also ping them a message that they need to confirm. And obviously, I'm sure that you superintendents don't mind that this has a geofencing that keeps people compliant and off the areas they're not supposed to go onto. So this obviously helps, and generally it is considered player value, which is never a bad thing. So what it powers in the back end is your efficiencies at Cog Hill is something that we want to talk to. So here's we've jammed this page a little bit. So basically, this on the left is what our reporting page looks like. In the top left, you see how many rounds were tracked. So that would equate just under 4,000 players in a month. So this was June, the whole month of June. Your average round time at Ravines coming in at 4:15, where you want to play to 4:23. We're tracking marshal interventions, and obviously there's some weather impacts. So this is an end time on single day, but you can dig into this on a day-by-day basis as well. And down here is the hole by hole trends, which holes are playing over. Where's the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah, right in the middle there. Yeah.
In the bottom right is your pace distribution, because one of the things that's obvious, but once you think about it, is that the average round time is really a very bad indicator for what actually happens out on the course, because there are many quicker rounds, early morning rounds, maybe in some twosomes that are skewing the data. And if you really want to get a good look at what's happening, what the player experience is like for all the people that are going through your course, the only way to look at that is to segment it, right? So we're looking at who's on pace, who's faster, who's within 10 minutes, 20, 30, 40 minutes over. And there's always a few pain points. At the bottom is Dubstrade, which is running, like you said, about 13 minutes smoother in that month. So every single day is coming really, going through really well. I'm sure that this would have helped you to reallocate some staffing that you may have thought you needed there, right, to keep an eye, and now you don't have to, right? They can do other things that add more value. So how do you use these reports now to allocate staff and make decisions? And obviously we want to also talk to your improvements in just a minute. But let's first tell us about the reporting a little bit.
Well, that's a great point. Well, on the allocation, let's go to that real quickly, because before I got here, we had basically a ranger driving around on each golf course on the weekends. So you had 4 rangers. And if you ran those kind of numbers on Dubstrad, you had somebody just essentially driving around and seeing a golf course that didn't have any issues primarily. So we've kind of condensed, and a lot of times we can have one ranger on that's what I call that side, which is the ravines and Dubstrad side of the road. And they will spend most of their time on ravines on a busy Saturday or Sunday. Now, full disclosure, this is a busy facility. It's in a populated area. It's been here a long time. So we'll do 4,000 rounds a month during the season on every golf course, except for not quite that on Dubstrad. So you can imagine those numbers add up pretty quickly. There's a lot of rounds going through here. So we do need to get out and do a range. And we have a starter on every course, obviously, that on the first tee. So we do need to get out and do some rangering, but we do need to be more targeted. And that's where we've spent our time. And as you said, we're about 3 months in, right? 3 or 4 months in with Tag Marshall. So we're learning some lessons as we go, but it has definitely shown, as you talked there, some improvement. And we've got one more kind of nut to crack, which is the ravines situation. And that has always been a pace and play issue here at Cog Hill, but I think we're making some improvement, albeit it's a little slower than Dubstrad.
I think you need to give yourself some credit as well in firstly, driving your team to pay attention, because and the research shows that it's important to your players, right? They want you to do this well. They want you to have competency here. So I think some credit to your team for in May, which was very early on in the game. You had 1,170 groups, so roughly 3,100 players through ravines, and you had 49% on pace or within 10 minutes. So that's what this graph shows. Now, a month later, your traffic is up 12%. So you would expect things to slow down a little bit. But on the contrary, you 18% improved. So now you've got 67% on pace and within 10. Because you obviously more accurate in your management of it, and you know when and how to pay attention, and also certain times of day, which I'm sure you've learned from some of the reporting, when it's key time to pay attention. And then other times of day, your team can do other things that add more value to your facility. So hats off to you for going for it like this. And it's great to see this. Obviously, things get interesting, as you said, once there's more data, once you can do season on season comparisons, once we can dig a bit deeper. This is really just early days, but it's great to see that we're already moving in a really good direction. From Joey, I've got a question for you, because obviously you've seen both the super high end. You're sitting at Erin Hills right now at a PGA Ambassador event. You've seen the $35 round fee course. You've seen the private clubs now, and having worked with us at Tag Marshall. From a private club perspective, what would you say are the key priorities, Joey? From obviously revenue gets measured differently, but the player experience trumps. Like, what do the private clubs want out of their engagement?
Obviously they want to control their pace of play. they also want to be able to go out and talk to people on the course, to identify those slower players, and use data to do that, rather than having a marshal try to determine what that group is. It helps the marshal soften the blow if he does have to go out. He can definitely talk to them with data, and it's not in the eye of the beholder. So I think that's one of the big keys for some of the private clubs, and generally wanting to know where their players are at on the course. So if something happens or they need to get to somebody, they can get to them quickly. One guy that I was talking to recently, they use it for locating players on the course because they cater to their players on a high end. They will allow them to order food on any hole, and they run the food out to them. So they know exactly where they're at on the course, and they can go get to them quickly and get them their food while it's, if it's hot, they still get a hot meal. Their drinks aren't watered down and stuff like that when they get there. So they don't have to go chasing people down on the course to try to find them. So they're using it in some different ways, getting a little more creative in how they use it.
Yeah, Joey,
you make some great points there, Troy.
But the messaging app is something that we use, and I can see that being useful to private club as well. It's something where we're starting to see some two-way traffic. I get some. I'm in my office sometimes, and if I see where we've got some, and you can narrow it by slow groups. You can only send a message in mass to slow groups, which is really one that I use a lot. And then also people are saying, where's the beverage cart? Well, a lot of times we can locate the beverage cart and tell them in location. So there's some of those things that are useful. We're getting a little better at doing them here too.
Yeah, we see a lot of clubs that are dialing in their halfway house, or what the folks in Wisconsin call their beer angels.
Yes.
So that they actually know when the players are approaching, right? Right. And often, especially at a private club, now you know the players' names too, so you can personalize your service and you can be a bit more efficient, you can be a bit more on it. So those are all the little side opportunities in terms of efficiencies. Yeah, but the most and the big tickets obviously is, can we make the vast majority of our players delighted and very happy with their experience? And that leads to repeat play. Obviously, you don't want 20 or 30% of your players to have rounds that go 30, 40, 50 minutes over where they're having to wait. And even if it's 10%, that's still too much, right? So you want to control that as well as you can. And then ultimately that allows, and a lot of clubs are doing that really well down the line, to add capacity, which is a fantastic revenue game changer. And also if you're freeing up people's time, and if that's on average 20 minutes a day, that's an accumulative allotment of hours that these guys now have available to spend at the clubhouse and in other revenue generating outlets. So I know that you're probably not quite there yet, Troy, but in terms of your thinking going forward down the line, and you being the revenue guru, how does that feature for you going forward? Is that something that you're interested in looking at into the future?
Yeah, we've talked about some different kinds of solutions that we will get from the reporting here, possibly, tee time spans, tee time lengths. Like you said, we've got a dub shred where we almost could shrink our at this point our expected pace of play, which would help us a little bit. We may be able to, weirdly enough, on that kind of golf course, we may be able to actually squeeze in an extra tee time on dub shred where we couldn't do it on ravines. Well, for us, that's a big dollar amount, because a foursome on a weekend is a $700 proposition. So it's one of those kind of things where, this is going to give us a lot of ammunition to go back and have those kind of conversations. Also, like you said, the delight factor is a big deal for us. That means it's not harder to quantify from a dollar standpoint, but it means people are going to come back and not be run off by slow rounds. And to me, that's, with a facility like ours and as many golfers as we have, that does mean dollars for us for sure.
Troy, did somebody mention 5-minute intervals?
Yeah, Joe Jemsik, the patriarch here that ran the facility for a long time, used to run 5-minute tee times. Now, this is the time when there weren't tee times, really. I mean, you could show up and he would squeeze you on the course. You could sleep overnight in your RV. And, you know, Chicago's a golf crazy market. It used to be really nutty. There weren't very many golf courses where you could play publicly. And so, yeah, 5-minute tee times. His thing was get them out there, and then we'll deal with the pace of play once they're on the course. So we don't do that anymore.
Okay, that's the evolution, right? So
exactly.
Hey, Bo.
Yeah.
One side note, you know, here at Erin Hills, Erin Hills is obviously still still a public course. You know, and they have used the system here to determine their tee time spreads. Mm-hmm. They know here in the mornings, they can run like Jim was telling me, I think they run like an 11-minute tee time spread in the mornings because the groups are coming in and it's a day play for those guys. And then they have the ones that come in the afternoon, and those are usually the people staying on property or something, and they run those at a 12-minute interval. Okay. Yeah. So they've used it to kind of manage based on the what they see with the players at the different times, the morning times and then the afternoon times, which I thought was very interesting.
100%. So there's a lot, obviously, that the data reveals, and those strategies. One of them is also dynamic goal times, so that you're running your course faster in the morning, you're managing it, you're communicating that with players. A lot of players are willing to pay more for a faster round even. Right. And then once you're speeding things up at certain parts of the day, you can obviously run at tighter intervals too, and that very quickly frees up capacity. So there's there are a lot of clubs that are doing this really well. And sometimes the difference in time, goal time that they're playing within a day is 45 to 50 minutes of a spread. Like Pebble Beach is one of those, for instance, but also a lot of clubs down the road are smartening up on that, and they're making it part of their dynamic pricing, because they're realizing if they can do that first out quick golf, a lot of players really want that and want to go for that. Right. Because that's when they get more golf, they get to play more golf if they're controlled and if they know what they're going to get. I need to be, I'm sure Natalie, our marketing manager, is keeping me on pace here, which because we promised 45 minutes. So I want to just run one quick last poll by everyone, and I see that virtually everyone stayed on, which is great. Stop sharing. Okay. Okay, one last poll quickly. We have, would you consider using technology on your course? Just a quick sense check. While you can think of some questions, let me just see if there's any questions that have come through in the Q&A. I saw something mentioned. Okay, see if you have got some ideas on technology, if something that you're interested in, if it's something that you push out by another year, or if it's something that you are already looking at actively. Just to read the room a little bit, chat. Okay. All right, yeah, so thank you, Troy. Let me ask the audience if there's any questions, and you can type them into the Q&A, and we can ask Troy. There may be one coming through. How have the Cog Hill players responded to the new tech? That obviously you get a fair bit of repeat play, very much drivable from Chicago. There's something new and shiny. How have they responded?
Well, that's interesting, because when we made this decision, we were considering actually not having any customer facing GPS on the ravines and Dubstrand, because so many people have rangefinders, so many people have a watch app or something. So we were considering that, but we didn't want a takeaway. So we because we'd had previously something on there. So we added, with adding Tag Marshal, we added the touchscreen where you can get distances from one place to another, which the golfers have said they really like, because there's a lot of bunker landings on Dubstrand and the ravines where, I like to know how far it is to that feature. Well, the old GPS system did not do that. So we've had good response. It's been, I think it's one of the things where people are getting more and more used to it, and they're getting more used to what they can do. That's why I was talking the two-way communication. They're communicating with us back and forth on the messaging app. So it's been uniformly positive. Not a great amount of information coming from customers, but I think if we took it away, it would be something that was missed for sure.
Yeah, then you'd know about it. There's a question by David. do you guys use and make player stats available to addressing regular slow play offenders? Like, how do you handle this? And do you have these conversations?
Oh, great question. Because we have almost 500 or over 500 permanent tee time players. So these are folks, it's kind of a uniquely Chicago thing. The folks who have the same tee time on a Saturday all season, and they pay for that right to do that. So a lot of times if somebody cancels, we'll stick a public group in there, and automatically it's the public group's fault, right? They're the ones, not the permanent tee time guys who are too slow. Well, now we can go back and say, guys, this is actually a permanent tee time group that's caused this issue, or maybe even it's you that was the issue. But we've got data and we can literally show them. And I've had that conversation with 2 permanent tee time golfers already using the data from Tag Marshall.
Yeah, so one of the things that Troy and the team can do is they can look at what is called a track map, which basically is an imprint of the round that has been played with timestamps hole by hole, and also were there any interactions with the staff. And then you can really see you fell out of position on this hole by so many minutes. You held up X amount of players behind you. So there's no hiding. Data tells a story, but also it's not a case of opinion versus opinion, which is something that Joey spoke to earlier, especially in the private club space. You want to look after your members and not have antagonizing conversations. Well, data takes that problem out the equation because you talk about facts.
Right.
And it's not who's got more rank or more pull within the club space. It's data that you're looking at. So it's certainly helpful. Are there any other questions? If not, I see there's one more being posted. Let me just check. Do the players respond to paste messages when you do send them out on the units, or do you normally have somebody go out and make double sure that they pay attention?
Yeah, there's an acknowledgement tab when you in the messaging app. It shows whether they've acknowledged it or not. And there's also a priority setting where you can send a message that has an accompanying sound with it. And from what I understand, I've not heard it myself, but my staff has. It's hard to avoid that sound. You're going to hear, if you're near the golf cart, you're going to hear it. So, and I don't know, I've not got far enough into it to see whether there's something where you can require a message before it clears the screen. But we do know that we've gotten some acknowledgments for sure. You can actually sort all of your messages and all the replies by the date and by whether they've acknowledged and by where they are on the golf course. So it's actually good.
Okay. There's one more question further to the first question. How do you have the data and the conversation if you only have one tag per 4 balls? So in your case, obviously, because you're tracking your carts, you would have 2 carts, and Tag Marshall actually does a track map for both. So that one is a primary cart, the other one is a secondary. So as long as you know who's been in what cart, you can narrow it down quite well. The other question that's come in, our course is not a Cog Hill, but we're a small daily fee course with 50% riders and 50% walkers. What sort of system solution can we use? Could adverts pay for the system usage? Maybe I can get Joey to fill that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you can do a combination of different two-way devices. We offer a 7-inch that is a hard mount to the cart itself. There's also a two-way device that is for walkers, which still has the same messaging of capabilities and the GPS and everything that the 7-inch has, and it's attached usually to a walking cart. So you could go that route, or you could go with tags, which is a passive system that's really just tracking them. It doesn't have the messaging capabilities. But as far as paying for the system, yeah, there's a course I just visited here in Michigan. The GM there actually sold all of his ads to cover the cost of his system. He pays $0 out of pocket to Tag Marshall for the use and benefits of the system just by selling his ads. And he's got enough demand that he's got people lining up for next season to be on the ad program with him. So he does the ads a year at a time, and they rotate through as the cart is driving. So they're nice and slick looking. He's generating some local business for the guys there through these ads. Plus, he's getting the benefits of the system for free.
Nice one. I think it also adds value on the sort of club internal messages, and come see us at the driving range, or we've got a growth special. That sort of thing is also quite helpful. Okay, we are running a bit over, I think. If I don't take the screens, can I pay for the system via T-sheet optimization with a non-screen option? Yes, absolutely. And that is something that Troy has looked at. Should we get the screens or not? Do we just want to know where people are? And we have just launched a geofence buzzer edition, which actually tells people if they're going into a zone they're not supposed to be in, which has got a really, really strong initial reviews because it's player friendly. And yes, that helps track things and helps people keep people on track, and the optimization certainly will pay for itself and return give a positive return on investment.
Okay. Bodo, if you don't mind, I'll elaborate on that just a little bit. It's basically it's a passive system that goes in the cart, as Bodo is saying. It's very similar to the tag itself, which the tag is what they use here at Erin Hills. And Jim was speaking in a meeting this morning, and Erin Hills has been able to use this data to add in 3 additional tee times per day. And I mean, it is a very expensive course to play, but it recognizes almost a $400,000 a year increase in greens fees for them. So the system more than pays for itself. And that can be, extrapolated over to other public courses, even with lower rates. If you can realize additional tee times, you can recoup the cost of the system very easily with Tag Marshal. The return on investment is quite quick from what we've seen. Bodo would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I'm a data and optimization guy, and I always believe that if you do let's get 1% better, let's look where can we get another 2% better at the end of the season, at the end of your 20,000 rounds,
it adds up.
You're now 30% better, right?
Yeah.
And then what do we do next season? Okay, what have we learned from year one? Implement, right? So that you're building this machine and processes, and you're dialing in your team to really go and deliver optimized results, and the sky is the limit here almost. But the amazing thing is that players love the result, obviously, right? And it's not a case of can we jam more people out there? No, we're all making everyone happy, and we are now earning the right to maybe ask for higher green fees because we're giving a better experience, but we're also earning the right to add more capacity out because we can do it safely. Okay, Troy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. The one question that I wanted to ask is Red Bull. What are you guys doing with Red Bull, and how is it helping you get younger players on?
Well, I mean, first of all, we introduced it. I mean, it's a demographically popular beverage, and we didn't sell it here prior to 2019. But we also come up with we have a real popular series of 9-hole events on Dub's Dread in the afternoon, and we always pair that with a beverage or it's a Scotch and Stogies, and then we're doing Red Bull and birdies, and the vendors here in the Chicago area love to be involved. They want to come out. They want to give you product. They want to send their representatives out. And we have found, obviously, particularly with a new demographic, that alcohol and golf and music and golf go together really well. So it's one of those things where it's one of those things that we're having super success with. And everyone sells out, really quickly. And it's a 9-hole, 5 o'clock event. People can get away from work a little early and still get here. And so we've got a whole series of those all across the summer. And I think Natalie had noticed the Red Bull event, and it pops up on our website. When you go to the website, it's probably where she saw it. But those are very popular.
Natalie is our marketing manager. She's already signed up for the next event.
Okay, she'll have fun.
All right, Troy, Joey, thanks so much for your time. Thanks to the the guests for the many good questions. Really appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, really, I just found a late question, but we have to call it a day. I know otherwise we'll get shouted at for being out of position, out of pace. We'll get an answer for the question in writing. So thanks everyone. If you have any more questions, send them through. We'd love to answer you, and obviously we'll also send the recording of this session. Troy, it's been fantastic. Thanks for all the insight. Thanks for being so willing to share of your vast experience.
My pleasure.
And we're excited for Cog Hill to be on the big screen again in the near future. I'm sure that you're working on that behind the scenes.
Slowly we are. We just got announced we're holding the PGA Junior Championship here next year for both the boys and the girls. Press release came out yesterday. So we're trying to stay in the PGA's pocket for anything that might come our way in the future. And so that the folks will see that press release, but we're excited about that next summer.
He's fixing to really get all the benefits.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully that's the case. This year's been fantastic so far. We were talking about whether COVID was going to, whether it was going to slow us down this year with everybody getting out and all the way through July right now. It's been, I mean, we're going to beat last July, the July before, pretty handily this year. So, the bump is still here for us. And then I told Bodo, or maybe I mentioned to you on another call that we've got 2 other facilities that might be developed into home sites that are nearby us, and that will just help. That'll help us maintain the bump a little longer, hopefully. So. Yep.
Yeah. Everybody here at this ambassador event everybody's had increased rounds, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like they're increased by 2,000. They're increased by 10,000 or more.
Yeah.
Everybody's rounds are up. So everybody's got the challenges of how to manage all that with the influx of players and everything, and try to, you want to try to retain those folks, and keep them coming back. You want them in the game of golf because we all benefit, from it. And it's been one of those sports that has survived COVID, if it rears its head again, we'll still be in a great position,
right,
as an industry.
One of the weird unintended consequences that it's brought out some newer golfers, people who aren't quite as proficient, and that's made that pace of play and that tracking even more critical for us, because the 1 and 3 courses here are ideal for that kind of golfer, and we want to have that kind of golfer, but we've got to make it, we've got to make it move fast enough for everybody else too. So,
yeah, that's excellent. You don't want to run them off. You want to keep them coming.
Yeah.
You want them to enjoy the game and keep coming back, right?
Right.
That's great, Troy.
I think that's where accessibility we talked about earlier. We were talking about accessibility in terms of, can I get a tee time? But I think accessibility to the game in general for younger players, new players, the game has got a lot of work to do to cater to them, but also keep the existing crowd happy, right? And especially as you mentioned, your Saturday regulars, right? They're quick to judge the guests, so you have to juggle and balance the